The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the local McDonald's as 17-year-old Iris Henley sat alone in the corner booth, fingers trembling around a small cup of water. She whispered so quietly that only she could hear, 3, 2, 1. But instead of a prayer or plea, something else flickered behind her frightened blue eyes, something that had been waiting. When Damon Voss and his 4 friends pushed through the restaurant doors, the entire atmosphere shifted. At 18, Damien stood 6 feet tall with a muscular build from years of wrestling and an ego to match. Behind him trailed Cade with his phone recording, Ethan cracking his knuckles, Nolan adjusting his Letterman jacket, and Reed scanning the restaurant like a predator. They found exactly what they were hunting for. Iris appeared to shrink as the 5 boys approached, her blonde hair falling across her face. She clutched a worn paperback novel against her chest. Everything about her screamed vulnerability. The way she kept her eyes downcast, how her shoulders curved inward as if trying to make herself invisible. "Well, well, well," Damon's voice cut through the restaurant like a blade. "Look what we have here, boys. The new girl." He slid into the booth across from Iris without invitation, his friends forming a semicircle that trapped her. "I'm Damien Voss. My family runs things around here." Iris's book tumbled from her shaking hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I wasn't trying to cause any trouble." "Nobody said you could leave," Damien continued. "See, there are rules in this town, and you haven't learned them yet." He leaned forward. "But don't worry, we're going to teach you." Other customers sensed the tension. A mother gathered her children and hurried out. An elderly man left his coffee behind. Nobody wanted to get involved with Damien Voss. Behind the counter, 19-year-old Jimmy Chin kept wiping surfaces, but his eyes darted toward the confrontation as Iris pressed herself into the corner, her face pale with apparent terror. Damien picked up Iris's fallen book, examining it with mock interest. Without warning, he dropped it and placed his sneaker on top. "Welcome to the real world, princess." Tears welled in Iris's eyes. "Please," she whispered. "That was my mom's book. She's gone now, and it's all I have left of her." The light came naturally. Her mother was alive 3 states away, having decided years ago that a daughter with too much baggage wasn't worth the effort. But Iris had learned to weaponize her own apparent weakness. "How sad," Damon's voice dripped with fake sympathy as he ground his heel into the book. "Mommy's gone, and now little Iris is all alone." Reed stepped closer. "Maybe we should show her what happens to girls who don't have anyone to protect them." "I don't want any problems," Iris pleaded, looking up with wide, frightened eyes. "I just want to go home." Ethan laughed. "You mean that tiny apartment on Maple Street? The one with the broken porch light?" The fact that they knew where she lived sent a visible shiver through Iris. Nolan cracked his knuckles. "My dad works at the property management company. We know all about the new tenants. Single dad, cop, works weird hours, leaves his little girl all alone." At the mention of her father, something flickered across Iris's face. For a fraction of a second, her expression hardened. But then the moment passed, and she was back to being frightened and helpless. "He's a good dad," she whispered. "He works hard to take care of me. But he's not here right now, is he?" Damien gestured to Cade, who began live streaming. "What's up, everyone? We're here at McDonald's with the new girl. Say hi, Iris." The camera captured Iris's distress. "Please don't," she begged. "Don't put me online." Damon moved to sit beside her, pitting her against the wall. "Don't be shy. Everyone's going to want to meet the pretty new girl." The live stream gained viewers quickly, comments flowing in as people tuned in to what they assumed was typical teenage drama. Iris's breathing became rapid and shallow, her hands shaking violently. Everything about her screamed of someone who had never learned to defend herself. Jimmy Chin watched from behind the counter, his hand hovering over his phone. He had seen Damien torment others before, but this felt different, more dangerous. "Someone help me," Iris whispered, though she made no move to raise her voice. "Nobody's going to help you, sweetheart," Damon said. "That's the first lesson." Reed knocked over Iris's water cup deliberately, sending liquid across the table. "Oops. Guess you'll need to clean that up." Ethan grabbed her backpack and dumped the contents onto the wet table. Among the school supplies was a small photograph. Damon snatched it up before Iris could react. In the picture, a younger Iris stood next to a tall man in a police uniform. "Detective Ray Henley," Damon read. "Your daddy's a cop, huh? That's interesting." Iris made a desperate grab for the photograph. "Give it back. Please, it's all I have." "This doesn't look like a helpless little girl with no one to protect her," Damien said. Iris flushed red. "He's working. He's always working. Can't protect his precious daughter?" Reed pressed. "Or maybe Daddy doesn't care enough to." The cruelty struck Iris like a physical blow. She curled in on herself, her sobs becoming audible. "Don't say that. He does care. He loves me." Jimmy pulled out his phone and began recording from behind the counter, capturing clear shots of all 5 boys and their victim. Iris's phone buzzed with a text. The screen showed Dad and a preview. "Case solved. Heading home soon." "Oh, look," Damon said with mock excitement. "Daddy's coming home. Should we wait for him?" Iris grabbed for her phone with sudden speed, clutching it to her chest. "He doesn't need to know about this. Please, just let me go. I won't tell anyone." "Oh, but you're going to tell everyone exactly what happened here," Damien whispered. "You're going to tell them how you learned your place." The restaurant had emptied almost completely. Even Jimmy seemed to have disappeared, though his phone's recording light continued blinking near the register. "Here's what's going to happen," Nolan said. "You're going to do exactly what we tell you. You're going to thank us for teaching you these lessons. And you're going to make sure your cop daddy knows that his little girl is under our protection now." "Protection?" Iris repeated. "That's right," Reed confirmed. "Accidents happen in small towns. But stick with us, be a good girl, and we'll make sure nothing bad happens to you." Iris seemed to understand. Her face went paler, and she nodded. "I understand." But as she spoke, her free hand slowly moved to touch the small river stone from her backpack. For just a moment, something shifted in her posture, something that suggested the frightened girl might not be quite as helpless as she appeared. Damien reached out to brush hair from Iris's face. She flinched but didn't resist, sitting there apparently defeated, still whispering numbers, 3, 2, 1. "You know what I think?" Damon's voice dropped to a whisper. "I think our new friend needs a more personal welcome." Ethan grabbed Iris's wrist, his grip tight. "Maybe we should give her a tour of the town. Show her where accidents happen to people who don't fit in." "Please," Iris whispered. "I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt me." "Who said anything about hurting you?" Nolan said. "We're just being friendly." Reed leaned down until his face was level with hers. "Besides, it's not about what we want. It's about what you need to learn." Iris's phone buzzed again. Damien snatched it before she could reach it. The message read, "Traffic heavy. Be another hour. How was your first day? Love you, sweetheart." "Another hour," Damon repeated. "That gives us plenty of time." "No," Iris said, her voice suddenly stronger. "Give me back my phone." "Did you guys hear that?" Cade said. She almost sounded like she had some backbone. Without warning, Damien grabbed a handful of Iris's hair and yanked her head back. "Here's what's going to happen, princess. You're going to sit there like a good little girl while we decide what to do with you." The pain should have made anyone cry out, but Iris bit her lip, refusing to give him satisfaction. Still, tears streamed down her face. "I asked you a question," Damien snarled. "Do you understand me?" "Yes," Iris whispered. "I understand." He released her hair but moved his hand to her throat, not quite squeezing, but making his intentions clear. The hand on her throat was the final straw. "3," she whispered so quietly only Damien could hear. "What did you say?" he demanded. "2," she continued, her voice carrying an odd note of calm. "Are you counting?" Reed asked, confused. Iris raised her eyes to meet Damon's gaze directly for the first time. Her blue eyes, filled with tears just moments before, were now completely dry, completely cold, completely focused. 1. The transformation was instantaneous. Iris's right elbow shot up with surgical precision, connecting below Damien's rib cage and driving the air from his lungs. As he doubled over, her left elbow caught Reed in the solar plexus, dropping him to his knees. "Enough," she said, her voice no longer frightened. This was someone who had been pushed beyond her breaking point. Ethan lunged toward her, but Iris was already moving. Years of training with her father, muscle memory from countless repetitions, all of it came flooding back as she slid from the booth with fluid grace. Nolan tried to block her path, but Iris's knee found his midsection. As he stumbled, she grabbed his head and brought it down to meet her rising knee again, connecting with his nose in a wet crunch. Cade backpedaled while keeping his phone steady. "Holy, guys, are you seeing this? She just destroyed Nolan." Damon reached into his pocket for something, a knife, pepper spray, but Iris grabbed his wrist and twisted it, sending whatever he'd been reaching for clattering across the floor. "I said enough," she repeated, deadly calm. "That means stop." The confrontation had lasted less than 30 seconds, but the restaurant was no longer empty. Jimmy emerged from the back room, his phone recording. More importantly, Detective Ray Henley stepped inside, still in uniform. Iris glanced at the clock and allowed herself the smallest smile. Her father had always been punctual. "Iris!" Detective Henley's voice cut through the chaos, taking in the scene. His daughter stood confident in the center, while 4 teenage boys recovered from a one-sided fight. "Hi, Dad," Iris said, smoothing her sweater. "How was work?" Detective Henley's eyes swept the restaurant, the overturned cup, scattered backpack contents, the live stream, and Damon slowly getting to his feet with murder in his eyes. "What happened here?" "This crazy bitch attacked us," Damon snarled. "We were just talking to her, being friendly, and she went psycho. I want her arrested for assault." "Assault? That's a serious accusation. I hope you have evidence." "We've got it all on video." Damon gestured to Cad's phone. "Everyone saw her attack us unprovoked." "Unprovoked?" Jimmy stepped forward with his phone. "That's funny because I've got video footage going back 30 minutes, and it tells a very different story." Damien's face went pale as Jimmy played his recording, starting from when the boys entered. The audio captured every threat, every cruel laugh, every moment of escalation. "The thing about assault," Detective Henley said, "is that it requires an unprovoked attack. But what I'm seeing looks like textbook self-defense." Kate had stopped streaming, but too late. The video had been saved and shared by dozens of viewers. Comments flooded in expressing outrage, calling for consequences. "My father is going to hear about this," Damien threatened. "Mr. Voss owns half this town. He'll have your badge, and your daughter will be expelled." "Your father? You mean Richard Voss?" "That's right. And when he gets here, you're going to regret crossing our family." Within minutes, a black BMW pulled up and Richard Voss strode through the doors. "What the hell is going on?" "Damien, who did this?" "Her." Damon pointed at Iris. "That psycho attacked me for no reason." Richard turned to Detective Henley. "Detective, I trust you'll handle this appropriately." My son and his friends were clearly victims of unprovoked assault. Actually, Mr. Voss, Detective Henley replied calmly, I've been reviewing the evidence, and it seems your son was engaged in harassment, intimidation, and possibly sexual assault before my daughter defended herself. Your daughter, Richard repeated slowly. That's right. And thanks to multiple video recordings, I have more than enough evidence. The question now is whether we handle this quietly or whether I file formal charges. Jimmy stepped forward. There's something else. This isn't the first time. I've got footage from 3 other incidents over the past 6 months. Different victims, same tactics. Richard's expression cracked. That's impossible. Maybe not officially, Jimmy replied. But that doesn't mean he hasn't caused trouble. The difference is this time someone fought back. And this time it's all on video. Jimmy's phone began buzzing with notifications. The hashtag was starting to trend, and comments condemned Damien's actions. Jimmy's phone rang with an incoming call. He answered on speaker, and a young woman's voice filled the restaurant. Jimmy, I just saw the video. Is that Damien Voss? The same one who cornered me in the school parking lot last year? More calls followed. 3 more young women with similar stories of harassment at Damien's hands, all with complaints that had been buried or dismissed. Detective Henley listened with growing anger. When the last call ended, he turned to Richard. It seems your son has quite a reputation. One you might want to address before it becomes a legal matter. Richard looked like a man watching his world crumble. There has to be some way to resolve this. Some arrangement. Damien made a mistake, but he's young. The time for arrangements ended when your son put his hands on my daughter, Detective Henley replied. But I'm willing to make a deal. Your son stays away from Iris, stays away from those other girls, and gets help. In exchange, I don't file formal charges today. But this expires the moment he steps out of line again. Richard nodded slowly, grabbing his son and steering him toward the door. This isn't over, Damon muttered, but his words lacked confidence. The look Iris gave him, calm, measuring, unafraid, told him everything about how future encounters would go. As the restaurant emptied, Detective Henley sat across from his daughter. Want to tell me what really happened today? I defended myself, Iris said simply. Just like you taught me. And what made today different? What made you finally stop hiding who you really are? Iris was quiet, her fingers playing with the river stone. Dad, do you remember telling me about the Saracen case? The girl who went missing 20 years ago? Detective Henley's expression sharpened. What about it? I've been doing research. She pulled out a photograph from online sources. Look at this picture from 2004. The high school yearbook the year Sarah disappeared. She slid the photo across. Detective Henley's breath caught. There, in a group shot of the wrestling team, was a young man who looked remarkably familiar. The same dark hair, cruel smile, predatory eyes, but 20 years younger. Richard Voss, Detective Henley whispered. And there's more, Iris said, producing another photo. Jimmy Chin isn't just some random McDonald's employee. He's Sarah's little brother. The brother who was 8 years old when she disappeared. The brother who never stopped looking for answers. The pieces clicked into place. Jimmy's intense focus on recording everything, his willingness to speak up when others stayed silent. He's been watching the Voss family, Detective Henley realized, waiting for them to make a mistake. And today they did, Iris confirmed. But Dad, what if Damon's pattern isn't just teenage bullying? What if he learned it from someone? What if the apple doesn't fall far from the tree? Detective Henley stared at the photographs. The Saracen case had gone cold because witnesses refused to testify, because evidence disappeared, because a wall of silence descended. We need to be careful how we proceed, he said. If you're right, If the Voss family really is involved in Sarah's disappearance, then today was just the beginning. They're not going to walk away quietly. Iris nodded, her expression serious beyond her years. I know, Dad. But for the first time in 20 years, Jimmy has hope. And those other girls who called tonight, they have hope too. Sometimes you have to fight back, even when it's dangerous. Detective Henley squeezed his daughter's hand. I'm proud of you. Not just for defending yourself, but for seeing the bigger picture, for caring about people you don't even know. You taught me that, Iris replied. You taught me that sometimes the most important battles are the ones nobody else wants to fight. As they prepared to leave, Jimmy approached their table. Detective Henley, thank you. Sarah would have been 37 next month. For the first time since she disappeared, I feel like we might get justice. Don't thank me yet, Detective Henley replied. Thank me when we find out what really happened. But Jimmy, keep those recordings safe. Something tells me we're going to need them. Outside in the parking lot, Iris looked back at the McDonald's. Dad, what if this is bigger than just the Voss family? What if there are other people involved? Other families covering this up for 20 years? Detective Henley paused at the car door. Then we'll find them too. All of them. But Iris, you need to understand something. If you're right, if we've stumbled onto something powerful people have been hiding for 2 decades, then our lives are about to get very complicated. Iris nodded, settling into the passenger seat with calm confidence. I'm ready, Dad. Sarah Chin deserves the truth. All those other girls deserve justice. And I'm not running anymore. As they drove away, the golden afternoon light fading into evening shadows, neither noticed the dark sedan parked across the street throughout the entire confrontation. Neither saw the figure in the driver's seat lower his phone after finishing a lengthy call. Yes, sir, the figure said into his phone. They suspect. The detective and his daughter both. And the Chin boy has been gathering evidence. A pause. No, sir. Voss couldn't handle it quietly. It's already gone viral. Another pause. Understood. Initiating Protocol 7. The problem will be contained. The sedan pulled away and disappeared into traffic. Just another unremarkable car in an unremarkable town where remarkable things were about to begin happening with frightening regularity. Back in the McDonald's, now closed for the evening, the security cameras continued their silent vigil. But what they had recorded would soon become the most important evidence in a case that had been cold for 20 years. The new girl had finally stopped hiding. And in doing so, she had awakened something that had been sleeping in the shadows of their small town for far too long. The real battle was just beginning.